Hey y'all, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Sandbox Love Podcast. My name is Ep27. Let's talk football. Let's talk this year's NFL draft. Let's talk Shedeur Sanders. Earlier on this afternoon, Shedeur was picked in the 5th round by the Cleveland Browns. I did an episode a couple of weeks back in regards to, potential spots he can land. I felt like Cleveland is a good fit for him. But beyond that now, what's your opinion on the draft? My opinion personally is that the NFL literally fumbled the ball. Instead of, telling the individual stories of the prospects that were selected, the NFL chose to focus on Shedeur and the Sanders family, right? Which didn't make any sense, which was really disappointing at the end of the day, right? I've heard a few NFL pundits over the past few days talk about collusion and comparing Shedeur's situation to Colin Kaepernick. I see points on both sides, but at the end of the day, I'm leaning into the second bucket, and the second bucket is more sabotage. I just think that the NFL executives wanted to humble Shedeur and chose the NFL draft and allowing him to slip all the way to the 5th round to do so. And that's really disappointing because at the end of the day, he was a top 30 prospect and you guys robbed him of his moment, which is cool. But at the end of the day, as he showed you every day that he didn't get drafted, he's cooler than a fan, man. And he's focused. And he's going to have a huge chip on his shoulder, right? And as long as you keep God in your path, everything works out at the end, right? So, Shedeur is in a great situation. I think he's going to prosper. And then I also seen NFL pundits now, use the race card, which is, irresponsible, disrespectful. But I understood some of their points as well. The NFL, the prospects that come into the NFL, for the most part, they come from, humble beginnings. That's what I'll call it. Impoverished neighborhoods. Many of them come from single-parent households where finances and resources are not present in the household. So, reaching the NFL literally changes lives, right? But for Shedeur, he's walking into the NFL with his own money, right? Through NIL and branding opportunities and everything else, right? He's walking into the NFL with Hall of Fame contacts and people that he can lean on for information, for assistance, or whatever the case may be, right? So I think a lot of NFL executives didn't like that, right? So, hey, we're going to choose him in the 5th round, and that's just what it is. And we're going to make him really earn it and see what type of character he has. Cool. I get that. But I think that, the NFL could have done a better job of humbling Shedeur. And at the end of the day, that young man doesn't need to be humbled, right? Every quarterback that I've known that's successful in the NFL had edge to them. Was confident, borderline cocky, But the difference between them and Shedeur, in my personal opinion, is that those other guys know when to turn it on and off. And I think Shedeur does not know how to turn it on and off yet. So for him, it's always on, if you understand what I'm saying, right? Under the tutelage of a veteran quarterback now, he's going to know, hey, when I can turn on the confidence and the bravado and all that kind of other stuff, and then when I have to taper it down a bit. And the fact that he didn't taper it down in the interviews and in certain places definitely rubbed a lot of NFL people the wrong way. For example, his jersey being retired at University of Colorado. That made no sense. It made no sense at all, and I think, in my personal opinion, it was a bad look for Shedeur. If Travis Hunter gets his jersey retired by the University of Colorado, it makes sense because he brought a Heisman to the University of Colorado, right? You, on the other hand, Shedeur, yes, you won the University of Colorado some games. Yes, you took them to a bowl game, the first bowl game in how many years? And yes, you had some good numbers. But outside of that, what have you really done? Right? To warrant your name in the rafters like that. And I think that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Right? So, moving forward, I think Shedeur is in a great spot in Cleveland. I think he has the ability now to eventually take over the reins in Cleveland, probably mid-season. But my suggestion is maybe possibly, sit back for a couple of weeks and learn. Right? But again, too, I'm happy for Shedeur. I'm glad he got, selected into the NFL. And I know now he has the biggest chip on his shoulder, bigger than Boulder. And he's going to perform. Because at the end of the day, he is a Sanders now, right? And they're built for this. But let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, share the channel with a friend. Peace.